Okay, welcome back to Unit 4, Lesson 4. Today, what we're going to be doing is factoring quadratic expressions. Not the easier ones that we learned the other day, but more difficult ones. And these expressions are when a is greater than 1. Technically, it's supposed to be when a is not equal to 1. Notice that I circled the 2 here in the a's placement. So this would be 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Again, a is not equal to 2, and there is no GCF in this problem. Remember, sometimes when you have a problem to factor, sometimes you may have to pull out a GCF first, and it might make it into a different method other than what we're doing here today. Now, other teachers like to use this guess and check method. I'm not a huge fan of the guess and check method. I like nice structure to things sometimes. If you want to learn the guess and check method or may have done it before in Algebra 1, please feel free to use it if you want. Just look up guess and check method on YouTube. I'm going to do another popular method called the A times C method today. I'll provide a link if you want to check out the other methods, or this method or the other one. All right, so let me go into the A times C method. If you want steps, you can easily look up the steps online. Again, A times C method. I'm just going to go right to examples, though, to save time on that. So what we want to do, it's called the A times C method because the first step that you want to do is multiply A times C. So 4 times 3, 4 times negative 3 will get you negative 12. Now this number negative 12, you now want to write down the factors of it. 1 and 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. Now, which pair do I choose? This is now where you look at the B term, negative 4. So what you want to do is take two numbers that subtract to get negative 4. Notice I say subtract, not add. That is because the C term is a negative. And remember the sign rules for the C term when it's a negative is plus minus. So again, look at the factors, 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. Which one of those could be a negative, a plus, and a minus to make a negative 4 for the B? Well, look here in the center one. If you put a negative for 6, plus 2 minus 6 makes my B term negative 4. So what's actually happening in this A times C method is your B term is being split up into two other terms. It will be split up into plus 2x and minus 6x, the two terms that you just found by multiplying A times C and then factoring. So we're going to bring these other two terms down. And what we have to do next is factor twice, in other words, GCF twice. We're going to make two sets of parentheses, and we're going to pull out the GCF of each of those terms. The GCF of the first term, the first parentheses, 4x squared and 2x is 2x. Remember, it's the smallest exponent. If you need to review GCF, you need to pause this video and do so now. You will absolutely be stuck on this today if you have not mastered GCF. So then remember, we divide by GCF by what we took out. So this will be divide to get 2x plus 1. Now your GCF of your second parentheses, well, I want to draw attention to this here. Remember, we learned the other day when your first term is a negative, your GCF must be a negative. So we're going to put a negative. The GCF of 6x and 3 is 3. So we technically say the GCF is negative 3. And then we carefully divide by negative 3. Negative 6x divided by negative 3 is 2x. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1, so put a plus 1. I want you to notice something. Look at those parentheses. Notice how they match. That means that you have done this correctly. And now it's time to go to our answer. Our answer will have two binomials in it. And one of the binomials will be what we have matching, the 2x plus 1. The other binomial, however, what's going to go in there? Well, it's going to be your GCFs right here. They will get put together in the other binomial. And that's done. Now, remember, if you ever want to check your answer, you can FOIL your answer and see if it, FOIL and then combine like terms. And if it turns back into your original problem, that means you have done it correctly. Moving on. All right, so we're going to start this off. Multiply A times C to get 12. Now we write down our factors of 12. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Now, my sign rules here, remember that when the C term is a plus, but the B term is a minus, that means your signs would be minus minus. So we need a pair here that adds up to -7. It would be right here. Notice these two numbers multiply to get 12, and they add up to get -7. So that means that my B term is now going to split into my two new terms that I put in that box, -3g and -4g. And then bring down your first term and your last term. Now we're going to go into the part where we have to do our two groups, and we're going to GCF each of the groups. The GCF of the first group is 1g, then divide by g to have 2g minus 3. Your GCF of your second group, notice your first term is a negative, so your GCF has to have a negative, and then 4g and 6 would be a 2, and then carefully divide by 2 to have -2g plus 3. Nope, I said that wrong. I wrote that wrong actually, divide by -2. So then divide to have 2g minus 3. Notice here, the parentheses, they match. So that means I did it correctly, and I can go down into my answer now. 2g minus 3 in one binomial, and then the other binomial, I will put my GCFs together, g minus 2. And that's done. Okay, let's try another one, letter C. A times C on the side, 6 times -15 will be -90. Now, there's a lot of factors of -90. You can write them down if you want. 1 and 90, 90 divided by 2 is 45, 90 divided by 3, 30, 90 divided by 4, it doesn't go in 4 times, 90 divided by 5 is 18, 90 divided by 6 is 15, 90 divided by 7, 8 divided by 9 is 10. So you got a lot of factors of 90 here. Now again, draw attention to the B term. It's a invisible 1 plus 1. So we need two numbers that are going to subtract to get 1. Notice I said subtract. That is because the C term is a minus. And remember, when it's a minus, we have plus and minus for my signs. So where can I throw a negative sign to make a make them add up to +1. Or I should say, which of these pairs subtracts to get 1? Right here. This pair subtracts to get 1. 1 has to get a negative. That would be -9. Obviously, because -9 plus 10 would make the +1t. So that b term splits into my two new terms, -9t plus 10t. Please make sure your t's have some cursive on them so they don't look like plus signs. So, what's next? Go do your GCF, your two groups, and GCF twice. Your GCF of your first group is 3t. And then divide by that 3t to have 2t minus 3. Your GCF of your second group is 5. So put plus 5. And then divide by the 5. 10t over 5 is 2t. Minus 15 over 5 is 3. And now we can go into our, notice they match again. We always do that. I always do that little check there. Do these match in parentheses? Yes, they do. That means I'm good to go in my answer. So I'm going to put my matching 2t minus 3. And then in my other parentheses, you put your GCFs together. 3t plus 5. Okay, another one, letter D. So this guy, nope, it does not have a GCF here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be dealing with some big numbers. Actually, let's skip that. No, we can do this. All right, so 14 times 12, A times C. 14 times -12, actually. No, you know what? I apologize, guys. I do not have a lot. I got to cut down on time, and we're going to be dealing with a lot of big numbers here. If I was in class, I would have the time to do this, but I got to keep my puzzle videos short, and this would be too much time. Let's move on to E. All right, so A times C, 4 times 3 gets you 12. Factors of 12 written down. I'm going to choose this pair. Why? Well, look at the B. The B is a 7. 3 plus 4 makes the 7. So my B term splits up into 3t plus 4t. And no, the order doesn't matter which way you write it. It all works out at the end. Now I'm going to put my two parentheses, and I'm going to GCF each of them. The GCF of my first group is just a t, and then divide by t to have 4t plus 3. My second group doesn't appear to be a GCF. When you have that case, you would technically say the GCF is 1, so we got to put a plus 1. And then dividing by 1 means you just drop it down to 4t plus 3. Notice the two parentheses, they match. So it's go time for our answer. In the one parentheses, put your matching 4t plus 3s. And then your other one, put your GCFs, t plus 1. Letter F, multiply A times C to get -24. Now again, C is a negative, so let's list our factors of 24. And I need a 1 plus 1 minus. That's got to subtract to get my B term. Subtract to get 5. So that would be right here. And I need to throw a minus in front of one of them. That would be the 3. So it would be a -3 plus 8 makes the plus 5. So I'm going to split up my B term into -3x plus 8x. And then bring down my first and last terms. I'm going to put my two groups. And I'm going to GCF each of them. GCF of your first group is x. and then divide by x to have 2x minus 3. And then your GCF of your second group is 4. So put a plus 4. Divide everything by 4 to have 2x minus 3. All right, we're looking good. The parentheses match. I could go to my answer, put in your 2x minus 3, and in your other one, your GCFs, put them together, x plus 4. Okay, letter G gets a little bit tricky here because we can't start this problem right away until we factor out a negative. My first term is a negative when we learned the other day. Whenever you are factoring and your first term is a negative, you must factor out the negative. So we're going to put negative parentheses and then just change the signs of everything. In other words, we're dividing by -1. Now we can go ahead and do our A times C method. So 6 times -4 is -24. Notice my new C term is negative, so my sign rules are plus minus. So I need two numbers that subtract to get my B term 10. That would be this pair right here, subtracts to get 10. I need a 1 plus 1 minus. The negative would go with the -2, because -2 plus 12 is 10. So my B term is going to split up into -2x plus 12. Bring down your first and last terms. Also bring down your negative in front. Okay, so now we are going to put our two groups and GCF twice. We're going to, bear with me here. The negative is going to drop down. Let's go to brackets so we don't, because of that negative, we don't want to make it confusing on you guys. So GCF of the first group is 2x. Then divide by 2x to have 3x minus 1. Then the second group, the GCF is 4. So put plus 4. And then divide by 4 to have 3x minus 1. So now we can regroup because the parentheses match. We're going to bring down the negative, then go to our two parentheses. One parentheses, put your 3x minus 1. The other parentheses, put your GCFs, 2x plus 4. Now, you might notice that in this problem, we actually could have done a GCF of -2 in the beginning, but I chose to ignore that because I'm just trying to illustrate the A times C method for you guys and not overdo it. Okay, last one. Another problem where we have a negative in the very front of the problem. So I have to pull out a negative and then divide everything by -1. Change the signs of everything. Okay, now I can go to my A times C method. 7 times 8, 56. And then I need to list factors of 56. 1 and 56. Well, those don't add up to -18. Notice they have to add up to the B term this time because the signs would be minus minus. So that's no good. 56 divides by 2 to have 28. Nope, those don't add up to get -18. 56 does not divide by 3. 56 divides by 4 to get 14. And I have my pair. They add up to -18 when they're both negative. Again, sign rules are important. Minus minus here because the C is a plus and the B is a minus. So let's bring down my negative. Let's split up my B term into my two new terms, minus 4x minus 14x. Now I'm going to make my two groups. And I'm going to factor twice. GCF twice. bring down your negative. GCF of your first group is just x, so then divide by x to have 7x minus 4. GCF of your second group, be careful, first term's a negative, so put a negative. And then 14x and 8 would just be a 2. And carefully divide by negative 2 to have 7x minus 4. Okay, notice that the parentheses match. Both have 7x minus 4, so I can go to my answer, put a negative, bring down the negative, then go to your two binomials. You're matching 7x minus 4s, and then your GCFs, your x and minus 2 go in the other. And that's it for my lesson. Again, if you prefer to look up the guess and check method, feel free to go do that if today was a little much for you.